You've written a beautiful melody and now you want to write it for a string quartet, a string orchestra, or a string section inside a full orchestra. There are so many ways you can do it. Let's have a look at some of them. Hello, my name is Davide and welcome back to another video of my YouTube channel, A Musical Journey. Let's work now. This is our melody, nothing crazy. We are in A minor, a beautiful cantabile in the soprano register. Let's have a listen. Let's add a bass line. This is very important. Once you have a melody, the first thing you want to do in this case is to write a proper bass line, where you can set your basic harmonies. It sounds good. It has a little shift towards C major, it's relative, and a long cadenza in the end. Now harmony. Maybe a simple progression can work in this case, since the bass jumps in fourths and it's a very common passage. I'm not going to talk about every chord and every choice, since this video is not about harmony, but I would rather focus on orchestration. Okay, good. Let's have a listen. Once we have something like that, we can now open 4 individual staves and begin to think in terms of a quartet, a string quartet. So violin 1, violin 2, viola and cello. We're going step by step now, and the first thing we can do is to give the melody to the violin and the bass line to the cello. This is quite obvious and is really the simplest thing to do, but we are sure we can go wrong. Now the middle voices. Since we have 2 voices, we can give one to the second violin and one to the viola. You see, that's why writing for 4 parts is so important. First, you can cover all the 3 and 4 voices harmonies. And second, the majority of ensembles are structured in the same way: a choir, a string quartet, a woodwind section, and so on. Let's listen to what we have now. We haven't changed a note, we've just arranged them for the string quartet. If we want to think in orchestral terms, is the right moment to add a double bass. Without doing too much, we can try and duplicate the cello part, maybe with pizzicato. Let's try. It's becoming something, but now I want to hear without pizzicato and an octave below. Maybe it's better. Definitely better. Don't worry too much about the volume of the melody. It's something that in reality would never happen. The first violins would naturally play it way louder. But if we want the melody to really sing over the middle register, we can duplicate it an octave above. The second violin will play an octave below, and the viola and the cello will have the inner voices, with the only double bass to deal with the bass line. And then, if we want to imagine that these 5 instruments are not individuals, but there are more, we can now think about a string orchestra. Good, it's starting to sound like something really nice. I don't want to talk about bow wings now, that's a completely different science. Maybe I can talk about it in another video. I will just put a slur every 2/8 notes together and maybe in the last bar 4 and 4 for a natural diminuendo at the end of the phrase. What we can do now is to start doing some experiments with all the possible harmonizations that we can do on the melody. This particular theme goes well, I think, with a third above or a sixth below as you prefer. And to do that, we can split the section of the first violins so that they can play two separate lines simultaneously. It is sufficient to write the Italian word divisi. The first half of the section will play the upper line and the second half will play the line below. Let's have a listen to the first and the second violins solo. Now tutti, let's see how it sounds. It's good to me. Thirds and sixths are just perfect for a melody like this played by the violins. I have to say it's not the most original idea, but if the harmony works, you can't go wrong. It has kind of a 19th century touch, romantic, melancholic. Think at composers like Tchaikovsky and Dvorak. Their Serenade for Strings, for example, are full of this kind of writing. We can now go even further with the harmonizations and split also the second violin section. The first violins will have the original melody in octaves, and the second violins will have the harmonization also in octaves for an even richer singing tone. There's something I always want to try in a context like this, and it is to give the melody to the cello section in the middle register, 1 or 2 octaves below the first violins. It could be more natural to give it to the violas, for sure, but it may be too comfortable and too easy. If you really want to make them sing, the strings of the cellos in that register are tighter, more stressed, we could say, and that's exactly what we want. I like it, but I see a potential issue now. There's just too much going on in the middle register. Violas and celli are just fighting for their place. They don't have enough room. I will try something even though I don't have many hopes that it will work. Let's move the celli an octave below, considering that the first A note of the celli is now the same A of the double bass as they transpose an octave down. It's not terrific, it can be an option, but it's just too heavy in my opinion. Now let's try another harmonization for the first and the second violins. They won't play in octaves, but they will both have sixths. Remember that although in a MIDI simulation like this you won't notice a huge difference, in reality it does sound different, and the players of the first and the second section will have a completely different feeling if they play an octave divisi or a sixth. I still want to fix the inner voices. I don't like that there's too much going on in the middle register, and also I'm really not loving the viola part. Let's try a different accompaniment. Sometimes all you need is some rest, and I mean literally. I want to try and give some air to this accompaniment, maybe transposing it an octave above, so that the celli have their room to sing the melody. I like it. Let's see how it works together with the melody. And now with the cello section. Now, tutti. Well, this is not bad. I like how the second violins and the viola respond to each other, but I'm still worried in terms of balance. I will split the second violin section and I will give them the full accompaniment. Plus, I will duplicate the upper voice of this accompaniment and give it to the viola in the bass register of this instrument, around the middle C of the alto clef. Then I will give back the bass line to the cello, but now I want to retry the double bass pizzicato for a lighter character. Remember, we are still not talking about dynamics here. These are just examples. In reality, every decision must always be made considering the character that we want. Let's solo the second violins, the violas and the celli and see if they work well together. Well, I miss the melody parts at the cello, but sometimes you have to give up something, and now I think it's more balanced than before. I like the pizzicato, but the bass line is still boring. Again, some rests could do us good. I like the idea, but perhaps it's too heavy and sometimes I miss the downbeat. Again, these are just experiments. There's still so much we can try. Duplications, harmonizations, we can split in three a single section, or we could even write a solo part. Really, the possibilities are endless. But what if we deal now with a whole string section inside an orchestra? All the choices would have to be taken considering all the other instruments of the orchestra. In this case, I just want to try one of my favorite uses of the strings, and it is when they all sing together. We have a small orchestra. What we can do is to give all the accompaniment parts to the other instruments. We have the woodwinds, the horns, and the harp. I've also written a new part in 16 notes to add some movement. The bassoon goes with the double bass, and all the other strings play the melody in sixths, so that they can really sing it with all their beautiful vibrato sound. Let's listen to the strings alone. Now only the woodwinds. Now the woodwinds plus the horns and the harp. Again, it's not a masterpiece, but I think it could work in real life. The balance should be okay. Every instrument plays in the correct register. There's nothing crazy going on. Everything is easily playable and everyone has his own place. Well, let's cross our fingers now. Tutti. Well, what do you think? Maybe the next time I can go on and work on the other sections of the orchestra. This was just an example of what you can do with a simple melody and some string instruments. I hope this was helpful. For me it's been a lot of fun. Thank you so much for watching the video. Please share your suggestions, or if you have any questions, write them in the comment section. Please subscribe to this channel if you like this video. See you the next one. Ciao!